right, welcome to week 7. I thought I would take a few seconds for a little bit of fun. So, rocking my very old school Thunderbirds t-shirt. If you don't know what that is, look it up. So here we are, we're week 7. This is the last week. It's what we call the penultimate week. Last week before the last week is what I was going to say. Penultimate, as opposed to next week would be the ultimate week. So I want to dive in. The announcement was pretty big. I want to show you all the stuff that we're doing and kind of walk you through the main assignment. It's pretty substantial. So let's dive right in. I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to go right to stuff that's not populating. What's going on? All right. Okay. We're experiencing technical difficulties. That's not the way I wanted it. Well, all right, we'll just do it this way. Okay. It's not quite the way I wanted it. Things are a little buggy right now, but let's see here. This should work. Let me make myself a little bigger. Sorry for the delay. It's just not functioning the way it normally does. So that's annoying. There, that should be good. So are you looking modules view? I know week 7 is probably late. I probably mentioned this before, but you should always be looking modules view. Here's unit 7. You got overview, you got lecture, you got the student evaluations. You got to check for your OV score for your report before you turn it in next week. You could also check it before actually you turned in the draft. You can check it multiple times, and it should exclude the final version. If not, I'll exclude it. Well, what I want to show you mainly is discussion and, of course, the oral presentation, which is devoted to the subject that you're working on for your final report. But before that, I want to access the announcement as it's got a lot of stuff in it. Starting with my dogs. Now, in the history of these announcements and sharing pictures that try to humanize me and kind of give you more of the flavor and feel that you would have in the live classroom, there's been one student that thought I was wasting time with pictures of dogs. And of course, you get 3 here at the top. I did do a second picture of Ellery because I didn't think this one with me really showed what she looks like. And this is when she was a little puppy too. She's bigger now. Anyway, I tell you right away, it's a big announcement. And in fact, I'm going to make the announcement bigger just in case it's going to be easier to view. I think it will be. And of course, my lovely face is going to be covering some of it. So I know that only a portion of the screen is visible here, but that's okay. So I always give you these quick looks. I think one of it's either this week or next week that I have an item where you can talk about the announcements. I'm gonna say it's next week, but I'm not positive. So, but I always give you these quick looks so you know what's in here. So a note on naming files. This is important. Some more wrap up on resume stuff. Plans for the feedback for week 6 writing assignment. And since I'll reuse these videos, I hope these dates will shift. So make sure you look at your announcement for specific dates. That's why I'm not even going to mention dates. You look. Week 6 wrap up. Make sure that you had a data graphic in the week 6. So the main thing is the oral presentation for week 6. Now, originally, the oral presentation was on a completely different subject, completely different. And I felt that this was not a good use of your time. If you're at this stage going to do a presentation on something, it should be on the subject that you're writing the final report about, because you're all immersed in that. Why shift you into some other subject to have you practice and fulfill this requirement for our credentialing and our not credentialing, what's the accreditation. Most of what I have in here, I mean, there's some variations to emphasize some stuff, but most of what I have in here is in the assignment itself, which I'll show you here in a minute to reinforce. But what I want you to do is I want you to give me 2 files. I want you to submit 2 files. I want you to submit a PowerPoint file, not as the show, but as the raw PowerPoint file that I'd be able to edit, if I wanted to. And then a separate sound file. And I'm going to have a discussion posts to show you different options. Nowadays, lots of people just using their phone, recording it and uploading it, pretty easy to do. And I, not that you can see the motioned at my phone, which is sitting over here on the, it's like, so you can use your phone. So there you go. So we'll look at this course assignment page in a second, but most of this stuff is on there. All right. So, and I try to be subtle in telling you that I want a separate sound file. MP3 is probably the best way to go. We don't want a huge sound file that's going to take forever for me to download. I don't need super high quality, a decent quality, but MP3 is perfectly fine. Do not record the audio in the PowerPoint. There is an option to do this, but then I can't move around. I'm not going to necessarily watch your show and go in order. I'm going to play the sound file and then I'm going to skip around in the PowerPoint as I listen to your presentation, and I'll look at what you're talking about, but I'm going to skip around and assess, so that's kind of my deal. So if you embed the PowerPoint or audio in the PowerPoint, then they can't do that. And that's why I want a separate sound file. So we want the file sizes to be manageable. And then I'm requiring five minutes. 5 minutes audio. There is no maximum length, so feel free to go nuts if you're type A, and a lot of people have in the past. You don't want to be super close to that 5 minute length, but I'm not doing a lot in the assessment of your sound and your speech. We don't really teach delivery methods in speech in this class. So try to speak clearly, try to do a good job, try to sound professional, and try to limit stuff like I just did. And that's about all. I'm gonna mainly evaluate you on are you over 5 minutes, and be a good 30 seconds at least over 5 minutes, maybe more. And some people have gone farther, and as you see in the samples, I've given you some audio samples. If you want to listen to them, I'm not going to share them in this video. You can listen on your own. But 5 to 8 minutes is probably a pretty good range. And as long as I can hear you, that's the other thing. I'm going to assess whether I can hear you. So definitely check the sound quality and the sound level of your thing. Many laptops and computers, like right now I'm using a webcam, you could use a system and just turn the video off and give me an audio only. Though some people have actually done video like I'm doing and given me an MP4 I believe file, and as long as you give me a file I can play. Some people have actually loaded things to YouTube. That's not necessary, but in which case you have to give me a separate file with a link in it when you upload your assignment. So mainly, does it work? Can I hear you? Are you over 5 minutes? And these are the important things. So PowerPoint expectations, and I'm going to show you samples, but I want to go over these. At least 10 slides. Smart use of visuals. Use the notes. You have to have references. You have to have in-text citations. This is absolutely required and something that students often miss and is a huge point deduction. You have to tell me when you're using source material, which of course you're going to do. You got to tell me what material came from sources, and what the sources are, and you have a reference page and the works cited, and or in text, excuse me, in text citations. And I'm going to show this to you. So don't put too much text on the slide. Don't put too little text on the slide. So there's a nice balance, and this is why using the notes will really help. Don't send me the show only, as I already mentioned. And then there's the discussion for the week. And there's two things going on in discussion this week. One is your peer review. I just transitioned. That might have freaked you out. Okay, so we were talking about the PowerPoint, which is your written assignment for the week. I'll go to show you the assignment here in a second. Now I've shifted. I'm talking about discussion, and then I'm going to show you that too, and then we'll look at samples, and then we're done. So I keep looking at my video display. I don't know if you realize I'm doing that. You know, that's what I'm doing. Anyway, so the main thing you're doing is you're peer revising your rough drafts of your final projects. So I've made groups. So there are 5 groups, and you'll find that. And of course, I might have just made the video so that there's usually 5 groups. So you know, I hope to reuse these videos. You're required to write 2 responses, even if you're in a group of 3, and one of your people did not upload a final project, you still have to read 2 final projects and give feedback. So you'll have to grab one from another group. You are graded on doing 2. And then a small amount of points for loading your own project. But mainly, most of the points are gained from writing the feedback to the other students. So this week you're graded on feedback to other students, a little bit for loading your own project, and my critical thinking posts, which are required. You do at least 1. So you know, critical thinking item is required. And there'll be several things to choose from. I loaded the first 2 right away, and there's many things to choose from. And then there's some more information in here on the final project. I'll be talking about this a lot next week, but I thought I'd be really subtle here in telling you that the body of the paper has to be at least 5 pages, which would actually be about 2,500 words in single spacing. So, because you get about 500 words on a single space page in regular 12-point font. You know, so, and that it says here. And of course, I say the range is 2,000 to 2,500, but really it's 2,500 and up. And that's what it says. 2,500 and up is better. And then, you know, as always, you know, little sign-offs there. So let's look at what we got here. Here's the discussion. You know, and you see it tells you you're doing peer response. You know, and gives you some guidance, 3 things, et cetera, et cetera. Big one worth 30 points. Get that first post, that's your project, by Wednesday. Respond to 2 or more classmates by Sunday. In the past, sometimes I've given an extra day, and depending on how I see it going, I'll do an extra day. Plus, you know, I always add extra items, but this week it's required. So, now this will, you know, make it so the, you know, students in future class periods won't be seeing their names here if I reuse these videos and don't make a new one, but I'll always have the groups right away here at the top, and I'll organize them this way. But again, you know, in your group of 3, if one of your students doesn't upload a project and you're getting close to the reply deadline, you're going to have to grab one from another group. And then so there'll be these items, and you know, it says 1 critical thinking item for the week is required, so just 1 response, 1 critical thinking item. But of course, I'd like to see more responses than that, and this is the possibility to earn bonus points. The 2 weeks where I really look to award bonus points are week 5 and week 7. So there'll be a lot of opportunities for extra posts. You could respond in every single one of them, which some students have done in the past. And so I got 2 up already, which I hope to remember to do every semester now, so this video is right. And then the presentation assignment. And in the new version of the class, since we gave up on the country assignment as the official only choice for the final report, which I thought was the wrong decision, and was mainly one just based on plagiarism and fear that students would be able to buy versions of the paper online. I've never really had a problem with it, and we check and we turn it in, so we would catch that. That's why I push the country assignment. It's easy to do, and if it's easy to research, it's easy to fulfill the requirements. So, but some of you have come up with really good ideas that though they might not be as easy to do as the country assignment, are really good ideas. But in the revision of the course, they had some other thing here for you to do an oral presentation. You're still doing all this work, putting in a lot of information and making a PowerPoint, and doing a speech, but on a different subject. So I completely overrode that and put it back as the subject of your final report. And so pretty much everything in here is what I just showed you in the announcement. The announcement just pretty much regurgitates what is here. But, you know, tells you stuff like reference slide at the end of the presentation, and reminds you of in-text sites, using the notes, using visuals, and so on. And in fact, it tells you the weekly announcement and discussion items, because we're going to discuss it, and I'm going to put more material in the discussion, help with the work. And so that's all of that. So let's look at some samples. And I think I can just do this. I'll have to check. I'm going to be really upset if, you know, I'm going to move myself. If, you know, supposedly it's showing my screen as opposed to programs within my screen. So this is one of the samples. I'm not, sample 11. Prevent and responding to a robbery, and I'm just showing it to you in grid view to start here because I want to talk about numbers of slides. Okay, so when I say number of slides, they say at least 10, and the title slide does not count, so I would start counting here through the conclusion, because this question slide wouldn't count and the references slide wouldn't count. And so this person actually has you know, 2 through 11 is 9, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Math sometimes escapes me. I obviously have not had enough coffee. So this student has exactly 10. So, you know, it's good to have more, but 10 is the number. And right away, I can see the student has used notes. Now, the notes are for two things. Stashing what you're going to say, either exactly what you're going to say and just read it, which students have done, it's just not super exciting, or just kind of a framework for what you're going to say. I think this is the best place to put the in-text citations. And so as we go through here, we see, you know, not a lot of note use right away. We get to this slide, we got a lot of text on this slide. It's too much text. But we have a little bit of note work, and as you can see, we got in-text citation in the notes. And this is the best place to put that. Students have also referenced the visuals in the notes as well, and I don't actually require you to reference your visuals. I know I should, but I don't. But it's great to see when you do it, because it's conscientious and it's really correct. So this student should have had less text on the slide, more text in the notes, and this is true of the next slide as well. But, you know, at least consistent use of the, you know, putting of the in-text sites in the notes. And the slides are reasonably well designed, despite the fact that they have bad, you know, too much text. You know, there's nice integration of the visuals, you know, and as I go, you know, it's good, but too much text on the slides. So let's look at, I'm just going to show you two examples, okay? I wanted to try to find one that used the notes extensively. And so this one on Portugal, which is this assignment number 8, and I've lost it now. It wants to be difficult. Okay. When we're starting here about slide 6, I start to see an extensive use of notes. So it's a pretty nice use of notes. I go into the next slide. I got a lot of notes here, but I also have a lot of text on the slides, and we have the in-text sites on the slides. Now, as you can see, when you put the in-text sites on the slides, it really doesn't look that great. And it kind of gets lost in the content, especially when you have this much content. And so I recommend put them in the notes, have more text in the notes about what you're going to say, and strip out so there's not as much text on the slides. You can also have too little text on the slides. So you don't want to go nuts taking your text off the slides. There's got to be stuff for the viewers to read. But many of you have a lot of experience with this because, as we'll talk about death by PowerPoint this week, you've been killed in the military in particular. So spread this out a little bit. But one of the flaws of this one is, that it's very colorful. I thought it was colorful. But right away, here we got the second slide. Lots of text on the slide, no notes. Third slide, lots of text on the slide, no notes. 4 and 5 are nice geographical stuff, no notes. So I don't want to see that. That's not good use of notes. So though you wouldn't lose all the points in that rubric category, you lose some of them because you aren't using the notes very effectively. But this person had lots of slides. And given that there's too much text on the slides and the person had 21 total, 3 of which are references at the end, the student certainly could have spread this out even more and did a better job. So that's very strange. Okay, stop. There we go. So I hope that is helpful. So far, what I've been told in discussion when I brought this up to talk about it is that you have found the videos helpful. So let me know if you have questions. Be very active in the discussion this week, please. And let's have a great week. I'll see you around the classroom. Bye.